Hey everyone, and welcome back to Understeer 411. It's week 2 of the second season of the 2025 Falcon Tire GT4 series on iRacing, and today we're racing at the legendary Sebring International Raceway for a 15-minute sprint race in the Castrol Aston Martin GT4. Now, after a rough start in week 1 at Portland, where the rain really threw me off, I'm looking to make a solid comeback this week. Portland didn't go well. I just couldn't get comfortable with the wet conditions, but now we're in the dry weather at Sebring, and I'm starting from 9th on the grid in a competitive field of 27 cars. It's a fresh start, and I'm ready to make some moves. Sebring is one of the more challenging tracks. It's bumpy, abrasive, and very technical. But if I can stay focused and manage the car well through these corners, I'm confident I can make up some positions. Before we get into the race, I wanted to take a moment to talk about my journey in iRacing. I've been racing for about 3 years now, but over the last 1.5 to 2 years, I've really taken it more seriously. I've focused a lot more on refining my racecraft, studying tracks, and improving my consistency. It's been a huge learning curve, but the results, they've actually been very rewarding. And as a result, I'm now on the verge of moving up to Division 2, which has been a major goal of mine. The key is keeping those solid finishes coming, staying sharp in my racecraft, and not getting complacent. If I can keep improving and push myself to stay consistent, I know Division 2 is well within reach. This race at Sebring is another chance to take that next step. One of the things I really love about this track is at Sebring, even in a sim racer's car, it's a solid test for any driver. The combination of tight corners, long straights, and those unforgiving bumps really challenges you to be precise and maintain control throughout the lap. It's one of those tracks where you feel every bit of the car's handling and balance. If you're not dialed in, it'll show quickly. And despite being a challenging circuit, I really enjoy it. There's something about tackling these corners and staying on top of the bumps that makes this track feel alive. It's a place where you can push yourself and the car to the limit and see just how much you've grown as a driver. Whether you're in a GT4 or any other car, Sebring never disappoints. It's a true test of skill. Now, let's talk about Sebring itself. This track is rich in history, and it's known for being a real challenge for drivers. Originally a World War II military airfield, Sebring became home to the iconic 12 Hours of Sebring race, which has been a running race since 1952. That history is woven into the very pavement of this track, and it's a place that's seen some of the greatest drivers in motorsports push their limits. When you're out on the track, there are a few key corners you need to keep an eye on. First, you've got turn 1. The tight right-hander, that's incredibly easy to overcook. Getting it right here can set you up for a good lap, but it's easy to lose time if you go wide or under-rotate the car. Then we've got the S's, turns 3, 4, and 5. They come at you quickly, and you have to balance the car while navigating those bumpy sections. This is one of those places where patience is key. And finally, there's famous turn 17, Sunset Bend, which can be a real test of nerve. This long off-camber right-hander is tricky because it drops away from you, and if you don't manage your exit properly, you can ruin your whole run down the straightaway. The pit car is in, the field is lined up, heading down towards the green flag. As we approach the start, we get a decent launch from the inside lane, but it's a tight field ahead, and I can feel the pressure from behind. Everyone's fighting for position early on, and I don't want to become a casualty so soon in the race. Heading into turn 1, I end up going a little wide on exit. It wasn't intentional, but the pressure from behind pushed me to take a bit more caution. I lose a few positions, dropping back 3 or 4 spots, but I'm able to regain control of the car and get back into rhythm. Still losing these positions early on in such a short race is definitely going to make things more challenging. I'll need to focus on making some moves if I want to get back in contention. Through turns 2, 3, 4, and 5, everyone's pushing hard, but it's been surprisingly clean for such an intense battle. As we head towards the hairpin, I find myself side by side with the number 17 BMW, both of us fighting for position. I'm on the inside, heading into the corner, and with some good late braking, I managed to take advantage and pull ahead of the BMW. We make it through the hairpin, and I'm able to move up a spot. But I know it's still early, and I've got to stay focused if I want to keep this momentum going. Now, coming out of the hairpin and down the long Fangio straight, I settle in behind the number 25 Mercedes, planning my next move. Ahead of us, they're starting to open up a small gap, and I know I need to keep that gap as small as possible if I want to have a chance to make a pass later on. At this point, it's all about patience, staying close to the Mercedes, focusing on my lines, and waiting for an opportunity to present itself. The last thing I want to do is push too hard and risk making a mistake, especially with a few laps to go. As we head down through Bishop and towards turn 15, the number 17 BMW takes a slightly aggressive line, cutting the track a little bit. He's right on my bumper, but that mistake unsettles him a little bit coming out of Le Mans. This gives me the chance to open up a solid gap down Ullman Straight. I'm able to get the car in good rhythm now, maintaining my pace, and I can feel the gap growing as I push further ahead. It's a small but crucial advantage in a race this tight. This was a strong way to end the first lap here at Sebring. Getting a good run onto the straight sets me up nicely for the next lap. As the first lap comes to the close, it's been a solid start. With so many cars still in the mix, there's plenty more racing ahead. I still need to keep my focus sharp if I want to maintain my position and possibly make a move on the cars ahead. Although I managed to build a small gap between me and the cars behind, the number 25 Mercedes has started to open up a bit of a lead ahead. It's clear we've got our work cut out for us if we want to catch up. The pace is steady, but I need to stay focused and maybe take a few calculated risks to close the gap. There's still plenty of race left, so it's all about minimizing mistakes and staying on the attack. Time to keep pushing and see what we can do to reel in the Mercedes. The first half of the track is definitely my strong suit. I can feel myself starting to reel in the pack ahead. The car is responding well through the tighter section, and I'm able to make up a little ground, but it's going to take some time to get this Castrol Aston Martin where it needs to be to make a real move. But I'm staying patient, focusing on my lines, and making sure I'm not losing any time through the technical corners. It's a battle, but if I can keep this pace steady, I should have an opportunity to make a move soon. After just 2 laps, I've already worked my way back up to 8th place. A few cars ahead pushed too hard, made mistakes, and ended up off track, giving me the chance to slip through and gain a couple of positions. It's always a fine line between pushing the limits and overstepping them, and today, patience is paying off. Now that I'm inside the top 10, it's time to refocus and start setting my sights on the next group ahead. I've been steadily closing the gap on the number 25 Mercedes, really making headway through the first half of this lap. I was expecting a fight, but unexpectedly the Merc lets me through without much of resistance. Maybe they made a mistake or maybe they're struggling with pace, but either way, I won't question it. Now sitting in 7th, I need to keep pushing. The next group is still a little bit up front of me, and I've got a long road ahead, but I am starting to make up ground, so let's see what we can do. So as we're coming through the back part of the racetrack, I've got quite a good little gap between me and the next car up. I think it's the number 23 car. Really, I'm just trying to keep everything clean and steady as best I can, make really good entries and exits, and just keep my momentum up and try to cut down this distance between me and I think it's the number 23 car up front. But hoping maybe he'll make a mistake, but more importantly, just don't make mistakes and continue to bear down on him. Yeah, it's the number 23 car. So I'm not really worried about the Merc behind me, because, I mean, he did let me pass. It's like it didn't even put up a fight. So not worried about him now. Coming through Sunset Bend, get a good turn through there. Coming out the exit there, starting to make up a little ground on the 23 car as we cross the start-finish line for the third time in this race. And almost halfway through the race now. Back to my favorite part of the track, coming through turn 1, down that short stretch toward the S's. And here, if I can hit all my marks, which I have done a pretty good job so far in this race, I'm going to really start pulling on the number 23 car. And it's an Aston Martin as well. So, probably my favorite car right now is the Aston Martin. It handles so well. It gives up a little bit in top end on the long straights, but what it gives up in that, it makes up for in its handling through the corners. So it makes me really happy to drive. It's a fun car. It really is a fun car to handle or to drive on a track like this, or even at Long Beach. These two tracks, very technical and a lot of fun to drive on with these cars. Now really starting to put some pressure on that number 23 car. So really just trying to put as much pressure on him and push him into a mistake or something, anything that I can do to get him off of his game. But I know he can feel me back there, because I'm definitely pushing on him. I kind of feint to the outside a little bit just to see where he's at. But I want to just stick right on his bumper and just let him know I'm right there behind him. So no matter what he does, he's got nowhere to go. Headed back down the long Almond Straight back towards Sunset Bend. And while the cars out front of us have kind of pulled away a little bit, I'm not too terribly concerned about it. I really don't have any delusions as to thinking that I'm going to have a chance to win after the sort of mediocre start I feel like I got. Really put me back. And the fastest cars on the track in this race I think they were running about a half second faster than me, especially in qualifying. I didn't have the best qualifying lap, but coming around toward turn 1, still putting a lot of pressure on that number 23 car. And with any luck, we're going to see me really start to bear down on him. So I was really surprised, though, with that, I can't remember, 25 Mercedes that was behind me. After he let me pass, he was really doing a really good job of keeping pace. So I don't know whether he thought I was faster or what, but he really did a good job of just holding pace with me, actually pulled alongside of me and kind of tried to make a pass there, but I think I was able to, I'm able to stay in front of him as we come around the hairpin. And out of the hairpin, still the number 23 is right there. But we're also starting to catch the cars in front of us, too. So when you're not being all racy and stuff and you're just able to stay with the cars, a lot of times you can start making up ground on the cars that are out front. But when you start racing, you lose time and the cars can get away from you pretty quickly. And you can see we're in 7th right now. So the 4th place through first place, they've kind of checked out on everybody. So we're really just fighting for these next 3 positions for me. Hopefully I can get beyond there. Hoping I can at least I'd like to get back up to the top 5. That's really my goal here after that start. Wasn't the greatest start. Looking forward to more races this week. So no matter what happens here. And again, coming back down the Almond Straight. Got a good exit off the Almond, or out of the final turn as you start down Almond Straight, headed towards Sunset Bend, and really started to pull on him here and jumped out right there. And I think I got his attention a little bit, but I think he thought I might be going to drop down and try to make a pass right there, but I just wanted to kind of see where he goes, and he went way to the inside, trying to block that inside line to keep me out of there. So, but kind of threw him off his game a little bit, slowed him down just a touch. So I think once I get into the next group of turns, going to really start to push on him here. In fact, coming around turn 1, I pull up alongside of him, so kind of set this pass up really nicely. So coming into turn 2, I'm on the inside, and once you get that inside line, man, it's really hard. So I'm able to come around through there, keep that inside line all the way around through those turns, and make a clean pass as we come out of the turn and back down the straightaway headed towards the hairpin. And with any luck, we'll be able to reel these next couple of cars in. And you can see starting to pull just a little bit of a gap between the number 23 car and myself. So I'm really hoping I can reel in these other cars, but there's not a lot of time in these little short 15-minute sprint races. The more intense race coming up later in the week is the 2-hour race in the Pilot Challenge, which I'll probably be doing on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. That's normally the one that I run. I did run the late night one on Friday nights, but it's just so late I can't do it. Old people thing. Old people problem. And again, coming down the back area of the track and holding a decent gap between me and the number 23 car. Still not pulling on the cars in front quite the way I was hoping I would. Still holding my own, and if I can just, really keep this top 6 position. The in-car camera view, this is a fun view to watch. So you're coming down the front straightaway across the start-finish line, heading into turn number 1 for the final time. We've fought our way up to 5th place now. Barring any last-minute mistakes from the cars ahead, this is likely where we'll finish. But honestly, 5th at Sebring is a solid result, especially after the rough start of the season. That said, it's not over yet, and there are 3 cars still close behind. Any slip-up could cost us positions. It's all about staying smooth, hitting my marks, and bringing this Castrol Aston Martin home in one piece. Just a few more corners to go. Let's finish strong. And it's through Le Mans and down the Ullman Straight one last time, still holding on to 5th. What a fun race today. Had to fight for every position, but it's been a great battle from start to finish. Now through Sunset Bend for the final time, keeping it clean, and we'll bring it home in one piece with a solid 5th place finish. A great way to bounce back after Portland. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next race.